Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to take a look at this pretty cool little RC car I picked up from Amazon the other day. This is only $35. I was browsing through Amazon looking for something to review, and I thought, man, I can't pass this. At 35 bucks for this little RC car, that's a pretty darn price as long as it works well. Now this is from Epoch Air. So you can see here, it is the 1813 or 1813. It's four-wheel drive and mostly plastic components, but again, for this price, you really can't gripe. The shocks are friction, so they are not oil-filled, but again, at this price, you don't expect that. It does have full ball bearings, which is really nice at this price. Fully proportional steering and throttle. It comes with two 7.4 volt lithium ion packs, I'll show you in a moment. And they do rated speed at 40 kilometers per hour. Now, that's roughly 25 miles per hour. I've already done the drive review, and even though I didn't have a GPS speed reader on here, I can tell you there's no way it was 25 miles per hour, probably more like 15. So maybe they had a 3S LiPo or lithium ion in here, and that's what they got the speed from, because they're notorious, not Epoch Air, but the Amazon sellers, for exaggerating to make their product look more appealing. And it is on the packaging too, which when I was doing the drive review, I couldn't remember if they actually had it on here or just the website. They have it listed on both the website, the listing on Amazon and the box. So there's no way that this thing is 25 miles per hour, but just like RC cars and drones exaggerate flight time, cars exaggerate their top speed. It's unfortunate, but you know, it is what it is. And that's a 380 brush motor, which I'll show you guys here in a minute. And again, it has those two lithium ion packs. It does have a 3-wire steering servo, as far as I could tell. I'll take a closer look here in a minute. And that is also nice if we want to do any kind of upgrades to this car. It uses the name of M-Beast, not Mr. Beast, but M-Beast. Has this Lexan body with a plastic roll cage on here. And there's an on and off switch that's easily accessible here from the side. Let me show you those accessories. You get your charger, USB, has a red and green light on here, which will let you know that it's charging and when it's finished. The lithium ions, I got one of them in the car. The battery compartment is actually on the bottom. You take a screw out, pop it open, and it fits nicely inside of there. And if they had a 3S for that top speed, you know, it'd be hard to get a 3S even in this compartment. You have to find, to get one that small. So if you keep that in mind, you need a pack of this dimension to actually fit into the battery compartment for this guy. But this is a 7.4 volt, so 2S or 2-cell, 1200 milliamp hour. Now it uses a 3-wire connector, so this doesn't have a balance plug separately, which most of these chargers will use to make sure that the cells are in balance. So theoretically this could get out of balance over time, but you can easily find replacement packs and you could swap plugs or whatever if you don't want to use this plug. They give you a little accessory bag. It's got some spare dog bones. They are plastic, but you know, it's nice that it's four-wheel drive. Even if they are plastic, it feels like a decent compound plastic. There's some, you know, it looks like there could be some turnbuckles maybe in here and some little screws and nuts, just some extra pieces and parts for the car, which are nice that they do include. Now, they give you a screwdriver as well. Now this is really cool that they give you something like this. I have to put it together still, but it looks like a pretty nice little screwdriver that you can use to work on your RC. So I'll have to take a closer look at it and figure out exactly how it goes together. It looks like you've got a Phillips head, and it looks like they also have like an Allen wrench hex type attachment for this. This is pretty nice. I mean, yeah, I've only had one other thing. In fact, this screwdriver here was the only other I got a blue one as well that came with something that I bought. That's the only time I've ever had any kind of screwdrivers. As you can see, I use that quite a bit. So I really am happy that they did include that. As for your controller, you get this is all proportional, throttle and steering. Your typical pistol grip here, it's got steering trim, your steering dual rates, throttle dual rates, and a power button. And your AA batteries go here in the bottom. Nice foam grip. As you see in the drive review, it has a little bit of play before the car gets going, which is common on these toy grades. But the throttle is, you know, it's decent. And your throttle, reverse, and brake, and the steering is rather responsive for a little RC car. They give you that spare battery in this box, and like I said, I have the other battery inside the car. Let's go ahead and take the body clips off. And it's a little harder on these on the rear here because you have to kind of get your fingers in here. So if you have really big fingers, you may have to use a like needle nose pliers or something to get in here. But you shouldn't have to take the body off this car very much unless you need to do a repair, because your battery compartment's on the bottom and your on and off switches on the side, so you don't need to get underneath here. Now, another thing I haven't mentioned yet, but you'll see it here in the driver view, is you've got a blue LED light strip, and they are blue LEDs, not white. They are pretty sharp, and if I remember, I'll show you here. If not, in the driver view, I start out in the garage, so I'm sort of in a dark place, and you can see those blue lights, because when you're outside, it's going to be a little hard to see those during the day. So as you see, when you pull it off, you have that wire running up there. Thankfully, there is a little plug you can pull apart, so you can completely detach the body from the car. So let's just take a closer look at those components underneath the car. All right, guys, as you can see underneath the body here, we've got some bullet connectors. These little connectors that obviously are going to the 380 brushed motor here. Again, 380, a little smaller than the 390s that we typically see in these cars. As we can see here, we have a 3-wire steering servo. Now, I've not taken this apart to make sure it has a standard servo or Futaba connector, but even if it doesn't, it's easy to swap one of those into the car if need be. It's just nice that if you would do any upgrades to the system, the electronics, you don't have to worry about swapping in a new steering servo. And underneath here, we've got your receiver and probably an ESC combo inside here. You can see the antenna wire running out, which is pretty nice. I'm sure it's a combo. They usually do that to sort of cut back on costs. Again, mostly plastic components here. We can see the friction shocks here. And as more I've ran this, they're not too bad. If you have a pair of oil fills sitting around, it wouldn't hurt. But, you know, even if you get a cheap pair for 15 bucks a set, it wouldn't hurt. But, you know, considering if you get this for 35 bucks, you're probably okay just leaving the friction shocks inside of this car. Yeah, that pretty much covers all the internals. All right, guys, as you guys saw all the components underneath the car there, it looks like a pretty good little car to me, and I have already driven it, so I can say safely, for $35 you can't go wrong. You know, I mean, it doesn't have the highest quality stuff, but it's something that I think you possibly could go brushless with, but I really don't know if it's necessary. The more I've looked into this, it moves along pretty decent. It's not really expensive, and by the time you go do something like that, you end up investing way more than this car costs. So if you're interested in this, there's a purchase link down to the video description. Now let's get outside and see how this car drives in the driver view. So I'll be right back. All right, let's take the Epoch Air M-Beast little truck out for its test drive. I wanted to start out here in the garage so you guys can really make out those blue LEDs across the top. They look fantastic. I really like they went in blue. A lot of times you see these vehicles use white. The blue stands out a little bit more. But out here in the bright sunshine, it's gonna be a little bit more difficult during the day to see those. So I want to start out here inside. Hopefully it's not too dark in here. Hopefully the camera adjusts when we get out here into the light and we drive this guy around. So they rate this at around 25 miles per hour, 40 kilometers per hour. We're just gonna do a kind of eyeball test here, drive it around here in front for a few minutes, and then I'll take it out back around the pool where the yard's a little rougher and we got a lot of rocks. We can kind of take it through that, even though this is not necessarily a crawler, being that it has that, you know, high rated top speed, which is pretty darn quick, even if it's exaggerated. Even if it's 20 miles an hour or 18, that's still quick for a little 380 brushed 4-wheel drive truck. That seems pretty quick. I'm going to adjust the steering trim. Looks like it's pulling a little bit to the left. Seems like it's pulling the other way now. That's one thing you almost have to do on these. Almost always you have to do some steering trim. So that's pretty good there. I just thought this thing looked really awesome for 35 bucks. You can't really go wrong. They have full proportion. Full ball bearings, all that. Let's pull a little bit to the right. Let's make sure our throttle dual rate is all the way up. You can drop that down. Here's this little dial, I'll put it all the way as slow as it'll go. You can just crank it all the way up. I can tell you right now, there's absolutely no way that's 25 miles an hour. So like I said, they do tend to exaggerate in all these listings. My guess is they possibly have rated this on 3S. Obviously, you know, depending on the ESC in here, they can handle 3S. But no doubt the motor can. That's a sneaky tactic that many of these Amazon sellers do, is they will rate a top speed on a higher voltage pack, and they don't tell you that whenever they're doing it. Guess that guy thought in the car that I was going to drive the car out in the street. I'm not going to drive the car out in front of him. But yeah, there's no way that is 25 miles an hour. I'm not sure that that is, that's maybe 15. But again, this is cheap, so it's not, you know, anything I'm going to be too concerned about. But I can't rate that top speed anywhere near that. You know, I've done this long enough that I've eyeballed, you know, I'm pretty good on speed. Oh, it flipped over, and there's no way that is 25 miles an hour. Again, 3S, you know, I think that's probably possible. You know, assuming the ESC could handle it, but that's possibly what they did, or they just outright lied. Yeah, I bought this, you know, this is not sent to me for review. I'm always going to tell you guys the truth no matter what, but I have absolutely no reason to sugarcoat anything anyway. But you know, it's fully proportional. It seems pretty powerful. I had it out here for just a moment before I started the video, and I was pleasantly surprised with the power that it has in the grass here. You know, sometimes you get down these 1/18 scale and they can really struggle in the grass. Four-wheel drive helps, but just the 2S battery and obviously the 380 brush motor is providing it plenty of power for this little guy. Yeah, overall, I mean, the only complaint so far is obviously the exaggerated speed, but again, that's Epoch Air. It's still on Amazon, exaggerating that. I have to look at the box again. I've not filmed the table review, so that'll be coming. You know, you guys already saw that if you watched it, and the table review was, I could be rehashing stuff, but I don't remember offhand if the box listed the speed. Again, it's branded Epoch Air on the box, so anything that's on the box is going to be approved by them. But this little car is sold under various sellers on Amazon and probably AliExpress and places like that. But I think for $35, I knew it was probably going to be a good deal, and I have absolutely zero complaints. And slamming those brakes on, boy, look at that, it really stops. Look, a little bit of a problem getting the throttle to go again, and I think that was related to the controller. When I was trying to give it throttle, it was kind of a little janky there for a minute. All right, let's go ahead and pause the video, and I don't want to keep riding in circles. Let's go out back where we can drive this around a little bit more back there before the end of the video, so we'll be right back. All right, let's just throw it down back here. Obviously, this is a lot of weeds. There's not much grass back here. I still got to get a decent yard planted. I've had no success, but it shouldn't be a mud pit. This little truck is not going to handle like a super, you know, thick mud. And if I go back where I normally drive, we're going to have that problem with all the epic rains we've had. Epic rain, epic truck, different spelling. But I think this thing's absolutely perfect for this type of terrain, as you guys can see. And the proportional throttle and steering here, if I give it, sounds like this test where you guys see the throttle on the camera, and it seems pretty good. It's not like there's a whole bunch of, there's some movement without it doing, you know, a little bit more than you like, but then again, that's pretty common on these lower end controllers. You know, if you get something even as cheap as a Dumbo RC controller, you're not going to see that. That's just kind of common on these toy grade stuff, but it's certainly not bad. The steering seems to be a little more responsive than the throttle. Yeah, this is fantastic. I mean, I really, again, my only complaint so far is obviously the exaggerated speed, which again, we haven't tested that, but you guys can see, if you've done any RC at all, you know there's no way that's 25 miles an hour. In fact, when you get down to something this small, 25 miles an hour just looks like it's going 40, because the little car just looks like a dart. And you can get cars at this size, the little PX Toys Sandyland trucks. I think they were 1/18 scale. Those were darts on 390 motors. So just to get these rocks, maybe take it across the water here in the pool cover. But really, there's no reason that I can see you doing any upgrades. And the more I'm driving this, the more I'm liking it. I'm thinking I may not even mess with anything. Like I said, if I've got some shocks, I'll probably throw those on because I will help some, but it's really not that bouncy to where I see shocks being as big a deal as you see on some of these vehicles, where the friction shocks can be a real pain in the butt behind because they're the car's so bouncy. Yeah, that was cool. So I haven't, obviously during the table review, if the car's a little bit dirty, that's because of it. Like I said, I've already filmed. I'm filming this before the table review, so a little out of order, but you know, I like to have the car new on the table for the table review, but the benefit of doing them out of order like this is I can give you much more insight to the table review on how the car performs, if there's any kind of issues I encountered, and I can't, you know, do that if I film it traditional with the table review and then take it outside for the first review. Yeah, this guy's, whoa, now that was cool. It hit the lip, the side of the pool there. But yeah, it just throws water up, look at that, and it's just no problem at all. This is an awesome little truck for 35 bucks. Normally this thing I think sells for around 60 from some of the other sellers. You can get it in blue. I kind of like the more army green color. And I think those $60 listings I saw had like a 20% or 10 or 20% off coupon, but they weren't as cheap as this one from Epoch Air. Again, it's marked down about half price or something. I don't forget what it said. Maybe it was 35%, but anyway, whatever it was $35 with its tax, free shipping, got it overnight. So I ordered that evening, and you know, I think it was actually next day, by midday, about 12 hours later, I had the truck. You can't beat that. If I ordered this from China, you know, if you got it in 12 days, you'd be happy. All right, guys, that wraps up the review of this little Epoch Air MV truck. I think it's fantastic. I'll put a link to it down in the video description and also a pinned comment. So if you want to pick this up, I suggest you do it now because I have no idea how long that price is going to be good for. And I bought this myself, so I don't have any contact with them for any coupons or ask them to extend anything. So please do go grab it now if you're interested in this. I mean, you really can't go wrong. If you don't like it, you return it to Amazon, no questions asked, and get it your money back, and sometimes they even let you keep it. So anyway, that's the way to go, guys. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. While you're at it, click that bell. That way you're notified every time I do upload a new video. And as always, guys, have a great day.
The power of the dark side.